Oh hey, aren't you Sora from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Alpha? What the happened to you, bro? I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Bushiroad really have to make a manga based on Cross Epic. Not only there is enough content, but I feel this hasn't been really pushed enough by the Bushiroad, both Japan side but and also global side, as I feel like the story would have been really interesting and people would be a lot more invested if you actively translate the lore. Unfortunately, Bushiroad is 100% against globalization, so we have to deal with how this is the only big image we're gonna get as a lore of this particular right line. And yes, I understand most of the card in this deck does have a theme to it, but I feel more could have been put in translation effort so that we can understand this lore a little bit more. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about, in my opinion, one of, if not the most ever-like right line I have ever seen in Dark State, and that is a Happy Toy archetype. How good are they? That is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today. So let's start off with the right line first, as I feel this will more or less set the tone for the whole right line in general, as we have Nutcracker Soldier Nashu. This grade 1 has 2 skill, where when this is placed by writing from the Cutie Teddy Bear Titi, the grade 0, you can reveal a grade 3 card with Heartluru in its card name from your right deck, search your deck for up to 1 toy for kids, review it and put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. And then when this unit is in back row center column and it is placed by a card ability, if your opponent bank card is grade 3 or greater and your bind zone do not have TT, you can counterblast 1 and bind a TT from your soul, search your deck for up to 1 toy for kids, review it and put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. This card is actually really good in all fairness considered. It searches for the set order that needed for the deck, and it has the ability to search for another cards if you are going second, allowing you to actually pretty much kind of waive the Eva syndrome off completely. And that is also because of the fact that the set order that is searched, Toys Are For Kids, is a grade 1 set order, and this card can only be played when you have either Heartluru Vanguard or a Happy Toy unit. Once you activate it, it gets the following. When this card is put into your order zone, you can look at top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 happy toys from among them, review them, choose up to 1 to put it into your hand and the rest into your soul, and shuffle the deck. And then act while it's in order zone, you can raise 2 cards with the same card name as this card in the order zone to choose up to 1 happy toy from your drop and put it into the soul. This card is incredible. Not only it helps you to feel soul very consistently from turn 2 onward, but it also actually searches quite a lot in a single instance. Though this is also the most important search instant that you need, because if you're not able to hit the targets with this card, you are also a little bit screwed as well. Future Mac here, and I did not notice initially, Toys Are For Kids are exactly the same skill as Torrential Research. So I feel stupid now. Back to the right line, we have the grade 2 of the right line, and that is Coaster Shark. This unit has 2 skills. The first skill is more or less the same as Nashu, and then while it is in the front row rear card circle, once per turn, at the end of the battle, this unit attack a rear card. If your order zone has a Toy Are For Kids and this unit was placed from rear card from soul this turn, you can soul blast 1 to stand this unit. This Overlord wannabe is actually better than you think it is, because of the fact that yes, you have to attack the rear card first, but the fact that it doesn't have to be hit, it just needs to attack the rear card to get a restand is actually a huge deal, especially considering the fact that you can get rid of their rear card a little bit to kind of disrupt the game first before you restand. Though 80% of the time you won't be using this card that often unless a rear card is really that irritating, so it is definitely a nice to have as it is a part of the right line. But how good is the boss of this deck? The owner of this amusement park, sugary and scary land, Heartluru. This unit has 3 skills, where during your turn, if your order zone has 3 or more Toys Are For Kids, all of your front row unit get additional 5k, and then act once per turn, Energy Blast 3. You can choose up to the same number of unit with happy toys from your soul as a number of Toys Are For Kids in your order zone and call them to rear guard circle. And then once per turn, when this unit attack, you can counterblast 1 to perform all of the following based on the number of Toys Are For Kids in your order zone. If 2 or more, choose one of your front row happy toys, stand it, and it get 10k until end of turn. 3 or more, until end of turn, this unit get 5k, and if your opponent bank card is grade 3 or greater, it also get additional drive. And then last but not least, 4 more, choose one of your front row happy toys, stand it, and it also get another 10k until end of turn. This card is amazing because for one, it increases the power flat, which does allow rushing to happen on turn 3. The call from soul is just ridiculous, cause this is just a much better version of what Andro has for the Dire Food Dolls, as energy is not exactly a resource that being burned all the time, at least in this deck. And then its restand skill is pretty damn solid. The fact that it ensures that one of the defensive will not work, we because it gives 10k to the unit that you were standing is actually a huge deal. Though this also means that you have to rely on the happy toys themselves to hit like a truck to begin with, and unfortunately not all of them are, but some do have a different kind of utility, as you can see with easily the best card of happy toy at the moment, Sparkling Bunny. This unit has 2 skills where when this unit is placed on Regal Circle, and if your other zone has a toy up for kids, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them, put it into your soul and shuffle the deck. And then while it is in left back row Regal Circle, when your happy toy in the same column as this unit stand by your card's ability, you may stand this unit, and if you choose to stand it until end of turn, retire this unit. Yeah, this is in my opinion the bread and butter of this deck, because if you can get this card early, you filter like no tomorrow, as the deck can loop this card very easily, consistently, and it does self-retire, which allow you to recycle it back to soul, and like I said just now, loop it over and over again. So yeah, it is safe to say if you get this card very early on, you are pretty much getting an easy win during that game. Next up, we have Block Horse, which I'm not gonna talk too much because this card only have 2 skills, where while it is in right back row Regal Circle, this unit can intercept and can intercept from back row, and if you have toy out for kids, it also get additional 5k shield. Nothing too crazy, but the fact that this card activate itself immediately on turn 1 onwards is actually a great help, because this allows you to actually rush early and essentially use this as a quick card for that earlier part of the game, essentially functioning as a quick shield, which is pretty good at least in my opinion. Next up on the list, we have Giant Fluff. This unit has 2 skills, where when this unit is placed on Regal Circle, you may Soul Blast 2, choose 1 toy up for kids from either your drop or face up damage zone card and put it into your hand. If you put a card from your damage zone, you have to put top card of your deck into the damage zone, and then while this card is in right front row Regal Circle and it is stand by ability of your grade 3 Heartluru Vanguard, until end of turn this unit get during the battle, this unit attack and your opponent would call a card from your hand to guard circle, they must call 2 or more at the same time, and this unit get additional 10k. Initially I would consider ability to get the order from damage zone or drop to be a little bit annoying, because you have to see the card out first, but considering how much you can filter with Sparkling Bunny, this is not a problem. So this card will trigger its skill very consistently, and even though the Soul Blast 2 is a little bit hefty of a cost, you only need to trigger it once or twice per game just to ensure that you have the order in your hand. So this is pretty solid skill in itself, and the second skill is pretty solid as well, as combining with Heartluru ability, this unit can attack for at least 35 to 45k without any boost, which is really good, especially considering how easy is it to get the guard restrict. The only drawback I would say with this card is just that the first attack before a restand is definitely on the weaker side in my opinion. And then last but not least of the current lineup of happy toys, we have Toy Monster Bravery Lost. This unit has 2 abilities, where when placed on Regal Circle, if your other zone has toys up for kids, counter blast 1, draw a card. If your opponent is grade 3 or greater, you can give this unit additional 5k until end of turn. And then while this unit is in left front row relay card, when this unit stand by ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Heartluru in its card name, this unit get additional crit until end of turn. This card by a lot of people opinion consider it to be bad, but after playtesting it, I actually consider it to be actually quite strong. That 5k make a lot of difference in making a magic number possible. On top of the fact that this unit gets its own crit regardless of whether you are going first or second. This allows deck beat down very quickly if you run cards like Red OT to actually double down on that additional crit, very similar to the situation with Obscure from the Eva right line. I mean, a lot of the element in this archetype is heavily inspired by Eva, I would say. I mean, she is in the art of toys for kids after all. But how good is Heartluru as a deck? Well, this deck filtered like no tomorrow. As long as you hit Sparkling Bunny, your deck filter a lot, and I think this is the strongest form of filter I have ever seen in Dark State as a nation, and it is actually quite cheap to actually build a deck because all the cards that you need in this deck is already included in the booster itself. And this is on top of the fact that the main attacker of this deck also take advantage of that additional 10k and restand from Heartluru very well, as they turn it into either a critical or essentially increase their own power on top of giving itself a guard restrict. The problem with this deck though is the fact that if you do not hit your targets with Sparkling Bunny or the set order, you are significantly holded back because of the fact that your deck wouldn't be thin enough to hit trigger consistently, and you also would actually struggle to build your own board because you're not hitting enough targets. So you have to rely on other cards like the Dual Nation or Ace Unit to actually help you to build those resources instead. And this is a problem I feel a lot of people glaze over, and that is the fact that the early attacks number is definitely on the more questionable side, even if you get a huge amount of benefit afterwards. But that's Happy Toys or Heartluru, depending on the way you call it. A deck that I personally surprised that is actually very solid and actually very fun to look at because of the theme of amusement park mixed with the horror element a little bit. I just hope if the story continue in this particular location, I want to see a more darker version of this unit. I mean, Heartluru himself looks so much like Sora from Arc 5. But what do you guys think? Is Heartluru a good budget deck that actually gonna be meta or not? Do leave down in the comments below. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Take care of yourself, don't forget to clap that sub and become a member for some cool perks. This is Mac Megane signing out.